Hi, morning everybody. Look, it's great to be back with you guys. I first attended this session, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago in Reba. I found the day to be hugely beneficial because, you've got to make an effort to get out of your day jobs to come and learn and come and network with each other. And I'm sure a lot of you, when you kind of were thinking about today last night, you went, crikey, I've got a lot to do tomorrow. Shall I go? Shall I stay and answer some more emails? Look, you've made the right decision. This is a fantastic agenda. You've got some really brainy people and me. And I hope that you get a lot out of today by learning and networking from each other. So why am I here today, I guess, is the question that I'm certainly asking. And there we go. Let's just get all this up to speed. First and foremost, I think marketing is a great career. I started in marketing in the mid-90s, so I've worked in marketing for over 20 years. It's taught me so much about business, and I'll come on to the details in a minute, but I've learned so much in my career from the people I've worked with, whether they're agency partners or whether they're the colleagues around the business that I've worked in. And it's just different every day. It's just, for somebody who likes new things, it's a great working environment to work in marketing. I've seen some good marketing, and I've seen some not so good marketing. I've seen marketing change hugely from back in the day when it used to be all about press and TV to now when it's all about digital and social. And I guess I want to give something back. I want to give you my perspectives as much as I can. I've got 30 minutes. I'm not going to give you everything, but I'm going to give you some of my thoughts around how I see marketing from my role, rather than having made that transition and moved out of marketing and into this general management role. So just quickly, a little bit about my background. I'm not going to spend ages on this. I don't claim to be the best marketer that ever walked this planet. You guys have probably got loads more knowledge than I have. I started at Bentley and Rolls-Royce, and I worked through different roles, mainly on the brand PR comms side of marketing rather than the product side of marketing. I've worked in local roles, UK subsidiary, I've worked at EMEA roles, and I've worked in global roles. So I've seen those different sides of the fence in terms of head office roles and local subsidiary roles. And I've seen a lot of different industries. I've never worked in the same industry twice, and that was a purposeful decision that I made very early on in my career, because I was amazed after 2 years at Rolls-Royce Bentley how I was immediately typecast as an automotive person. It's crazy. So I decided consciously then, when I was looking for my next job, I want to just get a myriad of different sectors and experiences, and it's done me all right. So who do I work for? Very quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this either, but I work for BSI. BSI are the UK's national standards body. We're responsible for convening panels of experts to gather together best practice definition in a myriad of different subjects. I think we have about 50,000 standards in our portfolio at the moment. Everything from how the engineering needs to work to make sure the petrol comes out of the petrol pump at Tesco's safely and reliably, to actually some new standards which are moving into weird and wonderful areas about ethics in the field of robotics and AI. So absolutely fascinating business. If you've got an inquisitive, curious mind, it's an amazing place to work because we've got such a breadth of things that we cover. But what we're really all about is helping businesses become more resilient in how they operate. Everybody knows the stats about the length of businesses hanging around on the Standards & Poor or the FTSE index, and everybody knows how quickly SMEs crash and burn. So resilience and organizational resilience is what we're really about helping businesses achieve. And we say that we can achieve that if you have an amazing, excellent product that you continuously innovate and continuously develop that's customer-centric. You have to have rigorous and reliable processes and procedures in order to make those products or services, not about just products, about services as well, of course. And I think perhaps the most challenging and most importantly of all, you've got to have skilled and competent people in order to deliver your product and service and your proposition to the marketplace. We're a complex, medium-sized organization, 473 million revenue last year, grown significantly over the last 10 years. A very profitable business, and about 4,500 employees around the world. So medium size, UK heartland, but we do more of our business outside the UK than we do in the UK. Matrix-driven. I'm sure many of you work in matrix-driven organizations and understand and enjoy the complexities and the challenges and the smirks in the room say it all. We've got 3 core business streams, and even within those business streams, there's sub-business streams. So we're one of those types of organizations. So that's enough about me and about the background. Let's get into the interesting stuff, I hope. So there's a couple of things that I want to share with you this morning. One is, the first kind of area is what I've learned in marketing and what I've had to learn as I've made this transition from a marketing director into a P&L owner. The other perspective I want to give you is what I've seen over my time, not just in the role that I'm in now, but also when I was in marketing, what I've seen great marketeers do to help businesses improve and get better and perform. So those are the 2 areas. So let me just give you a bit of clarity about my job. What am I responsible for? So I run the UK's training business in BSI. I have full profit and loss responsibility for that organization. It's a £10 million revenue business. We turn 50% gross profit and 30% contribution margin. Contribution margin, how we define it, is gross profit less the cost of sales and marketing. I've got a hard line reporting into the UK managing director, but I've also got, because of the matrix, a dotted line reporting into the group business stream director based in Chiswick. So my role, what is it all about? Day to day, of course, it's about defining strategy. It's defining the vision, the strategy, and the goals for the part of the business that I'm responsible for, and ensuring that that strategy is aligned to the corporate strategy. It's about numbers. It's about forecasting, reforecasting, and forecasting some more. And then when we've done that, we then start budgeting. And then done that, we start doing strategic planning. And we run on a 3-year strategic planning cycle. I've spent more time in Excel over the last 18 months that I've been in this job than I've ever spent in my whole life, and I love it. It's great. I have line management responsibility for sales, for operations. We run 1,500 courses every year, so the operations role is hugely important to make the wheels go around efficiently. And of course, delivery. So delivery in our world means production, means managing the tutors who are out there, some of whom work for us, some of whom are subcontractors, delivering the product that we deliver every day. Compliance is key. We're a compliance-based organization, making sure we follow the process and procedures that we do. The buck stops with me in terms of that. Resource planning, making sure that we've got the right number of people, whether that's the right number of salespeople, the right number of delivery people, operations people, how much we utilize those people, and of course, cost control. When you're a P&L owner, cost control becomes vitally important. And finally, product development and MPI. We've got a role to contribute to the global development of products, and we can do so much from a UK subsidiary level, so we have to contribute and go through the global process to deliver those products. So it's a pretty full-on, broad brush responsibility. But here's the interesting thing. How am I measured? So what's good look like for me week in, week out in my role? Well, it's about profit. It's about how much profit I bring to the UK's P&L versus budget. I work in a corporate, it's not my own business, it's not a startup, I'm not an entrepreneurial organization. I have to make a prediction around about this time of the year, and then I'm measured against that prediction as we go through the year. That's how it is. Of course, to make profit, you need to sell, you need to turn that sales into revenue, you need to control your costs to make sure your GP is in line with the budgeted expectations, and you need to control your sales and marketing costs to get down to the contribution line. But that's squarely how you're measured when you run a P&L. Of course, there are subcomponents to that, millions of subcomponents to that. I think there are 2 really important ones: employee engagement and retention, because without people, you can't run a business, especially if it's a service-based business where there's no robots in our business, it's all done by human beings. And it's, of course, about customer satisfaction. If we don't have an amazing product that our customers love and our customers tell us we get right day in, day out, we're toast. There's plenty of other competitors in our marketplace. We're not a monopoly by any much. People think BSI, you're the only people that do what you do, aren't you? We're absolutely not. There's hundreds of different training providers, certification bodies in our marketplace. So all of those things are absolutely critical, but where the buck stops is profit contribution to the business. So I thought this slide was helpful because it just explains and kind of confirms where marketing sits in my organization. This, I think, reflects most organizations. There's nothing that unique about this chart. But it says that actually for marketing to be successful, it's got to be aligned and integrated with the rest of the functions that exist within my team. The red ones I have direct line management control over. The blue ones, or the black ones, I have a matrix level management control. So actually, I control less directly than I do indirectly. Of course, marketing has got to influence sales, work with sales. Sales flows through to operations, and delivery make the magic happen in front of the customers. So our business is very complex. I have senior leaders responsible for each of those core functional areas. Those functional areas, and marketing leaders is no exception, is responsible for contributing to the overall business strategy. And actually, I encourage my marketing people, my sales people, my operations delivery people to actually contribute to each other's area because they then grow and get better at what they do by having a much richer kind of perspective. How many times have you sat in meetings where there's different functions in there and you go marketing update, sales update, operations update, marketing person finishes their bit and then zones out. Salesperson finishes their bit, zones out, doesn't listen, doesn't get involved. Actually, that's completely counterproductive to a matrix organization. You've got to care as much about the other functions as you do about your own. So, what's marketing taught to me that I think is vital for my role today? Communication skills. I think it's the first thing that you taught. I mean, how many brochures, e-shots, PR, press releases have you written? They're hugely important. The skill of communication in a leadership role is absolutely fundamental. How you talk, how you write, people are always looking to you for that direction. So if you're good at communication skills, you're absolutely set up to be a good leader. Linked to that, it's not quite the same, but I was brought up in that era of press advertising. I was taught by the advertising agencies that I first worked with about the importance of the brutal simplicity of truth, making the headlines work. I see in so much marketing today, copy that just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And if it's complicated, people won't do anything. Complexity breeds inertia. You've got to make things simple as a marketeer to sell your product. You've got to do that just as much when you're selling your vision or your strategy to your people that work in your team, or selling your budget proposal to your FD. It's the same skills that become really, really transferable. I've learned, because I did a lot of rebranding exercises, lots of cultural change programs, whether they're internal or whether they're external, about the importance of having a clear vision, a clear value set, and a customer-centric value proposition. Now, I had a light bulb moment about 5 years ago, spent loads of time doing that for the brands that I was working for, and had actually not done that enough for my team. So actually, if you're responsible for the leadership of a team, whether it's a marketing team or whether it's a broader multi-dimensional team, actually apply those same principles of proposition, value set, and vision to your own people that work with you. It's hugely impactful. I went through too many years of just assuming people knew why we were doing what we were doing. Set out that vision, make it clear. It's absolutely vital. Customer centricity. I mean, I said at the CX thing, common sense is not often common practice. So I'm not going to tell you things that you don't know in your heart and your soul. Customer centricity. You get exposure to customers so much within a role in marketing, whether that's organizing focus groups, research panels, whether that's going out on sales visits, whether that's actually talking to customers at events and seminars, but you just get the perspective of the customer, and that's so, so important in any organization, that you really respond and give the customer what they need, and that's what marketing is all about, right? It's about customer centricity. So that is a really, really strong set of beliefs and values that you will gain by going through your career in marketing. And linked to that, they're your internal customers. They're stakeholder responsibilities. I remember my first project when I was at Rolls-Royce, I had to go and organize the filming of a car that was going through the development cycle. So I was a 21, 22-year-old grad, going into the engineering function of Rolls-Royce, and I wanted to film this car going through development. And when you talk to engineers, they don't want a 21-year-old grad filming the car going through development. They're usually behind schedule. They've got milestones to meet. If I'd gone about that in any other way than building relationships with those stakeholders, I would have never been successful, never got that project materialized. And that's just stayed with me all along. The time that you spend investing in building relationships with people, the value of reciprocity, the value of liking and forming real strong relationships with people is so fundamental. Marketing cannot and should not and must not exist in a vacuum. It has to work with people around the organization. So you get that in marketing because you have to work with agency partners, you have to work with other offices, you have to work with stakeholders. So that is a real value that you bring to an organization when you understand the value of building relationships. And last, and actually I think the most important thing that I've learned by my career in marketing is do a job that you enjoy. If you don't like it, go and do something else. There's plenty of choice. There's plenty of choice. If you do a job that you love, people know that you love the job that you do. And if you're in a leadership role, you have to exude that. You've got to have energy, passion, but you've also got to have the ability to energize other people to align to your vision and your values. And that comes if you love what you do. If you don't, go and do something else. Go and be a banker. Go and do something else. It's up to you. So I brought a lot with me. That helped me get the job. That helped me get the job. And I was lucky. You know, I worked for an organization that invested in me to give me the chance to go into a general management profit and loss role. Because I hadn't done it before. I hadn't come up with the product marketing rule. I hadn't done forecasting that you have to do if you're in a product marketing role. But those skills got me the job and gave me the chance. But I've had to learn an awful lot more, crikey. One of the great things about going into a job that you haven't done before is your openness to learning is so much more because you simply don't know. You can't blag it. You can't blag it. So you've got to learn. As we get older, I mean, I've got 2 young children. I've got a 2-year-old. Every day, I'm amazed how much she learns. And then I go, well, how much have I learned today compared to what she's learned? It's just incredible. And we get to this state in our lives when you actually just think you know everything. But you don't. You don't. So you have to learn, and that's a real advantage in taking you outside your comfort zone and doing a job that you haven't done before. So these are the things that I've had to learn. How to run a business in a corporate environment. I've got the backing and the surety of a corporate environment, but I've had to learn how to run a business, how to determine of the bazillion different financial metrics and levers that I can pull to make the business more profitable, which ones matter most. And I haven't learned that by just working it out for myself. You do that through building the stakeholder relationships that you've got within the business, the finance business partner that supports me, the operations people that have been there, the other people that run this part of the business that are still in our organization today. By building those relationships and asking for help and admitting that you don't know everything. It's such an important trait to recognize that you've still got lots to learn, even if you've been in a job for 20 years. I've had to learn multidiscipline line management. I think this has probably been one of the biggest things. And remote team management. I had a bit of remote team management responsibility before, but now I've got 20 tutors. They're all based all around the country. Their line managers are based remotely. That's harder than when you see them every day. But the other thing is this multifunction thing. If you're working in marketing or sales or marketing, we're kind of cut from the same cloth. You understand the values, the principles, the way in which you do stuff. When you're managing an operations team, they think differently. They just are different human beings. Different types of people get attracted to those types of roles. Different types of people get attracted to tutoring roles. So you've got to work out what makes them tick. You've got to get to know them. That's where your customer centricity comes in because you're able to understand what makes one customer group different from another customer group. That's the art of marketing, positioning your product or your service to a different group by resonating with what they believe in. You use those same skills, but they're internal with your different teams. It's very, very different, but you can use the same principles. Matrix management. So I've worked in a matrix. I was a marketing director for BSI. I had customers all around the business. But now they're the customer to me. I'm the supplier. They work for me indirectly. So your influence changes. And some of these people I directly manage. Some of these people I indirectly manage. So again, how you build those relationships, how you get marketing to do what you collectively feel as a management team is the right thing to do. Sales, same thing, not just marketing. Revenue budgeting and forecasting. I mean, this is the thing that you have to learn the first, because literally within the first 2 months of the role, and you don't get a manual when you start, by the way. Within 2 months of the role, we're into first forecast at the end of Q1. So you're into that process, and then you're into it again, and then you're into strategic planning. You just got to learn, and again, openness to learning and forecasting. And here's probably the crux of all of it. I made decisions when I was a marketing director. I made decisions as a marketing exec, marcoms manager. But when you own the P&L, you have to make faster decisions, and sometimes you have to make harder decisions. Because actually, the business, you are responsible for that business, and you have to turn that profit into the group. Otherwise, your neck's on the line, your head's on the block. The buck stops with me for the P&L that I'm responsible for. So urgency and drive and speed of decision making, not trying to find the perfect solution or delaying and putting, you've just got to go with that instinct. You've got to have edge. You've got to have edge to make that hard decision and make it with confidence. The great thing about a training business is it's extremely dynamic, and we can try things 1 minute and we'll know whether it's worked a couple of weeks later. That's the beneficial that we have. But ultimately, the real thing that I've had to learn is how to make those faster decisions, be more decisive, and be more, just go with your instinct and data. Get the balance right between those two things. So, I hope this is helpful. I mean, you're going to have a discussion in a little while about some of the things that we've talked about. But I guess the final thing I wanted to share was, as a P&L owner, what do I see the best marketers doing? What have I seen them doing? What do I see them doing now? Being the voice of the customer is critical. Is critical. Marketing is about giving the customer what they want profitably. There are 72 different definitions of marketing that I found the other day, by the way, and that's probably something that the marketing community has to work on and actually agree what it's all about. But you go back to that original one around the process of anticipating, identifying, and meeting the needs of those customers profitably. Marketing is about understanding what makes customers tick. So that means you guys need to be that voice to the business, to the operations teams, to the people that are not quite so customer-facing. Be the champion of the customer and challenge the way that the conventional things have been done. You have that opportunity to make that change if you can demonstrate it's aligned to what the customers believe in and value. I think that's a fundamentally important role of marketing in any organization. To do that, you've got to understand what you're selling. It might sound completely trite and completely obvious, but I work in a complicated business. Services business, B2B services. We don't make computers. They're not that easy. It's not as easy as that. So you've got to really demonstrate that you know what you're selling. You've got to experience that product. I say to my marketing teams and sales teams, you've got to get out on the courses, understand what makes them tick, why they're different from the competitors. That's a key job of marketing, is to explain how your product and service is different from somebody else's. It's a competitive marketplace out there. If you don't truly understand what your product is all about, you won't be successful. Your marketing campaigns won't be as successful as they could be. And that links to then the next skill, which is about the ability to keep things simple. Because you can spend time understanding and sit down with subject matter experts, and they'll give you the reams of stuff to explain what this thing is. But your skill becomes how you make that precise, specific, and value added to the customer. That's where your skill really comes out. Use those advertising principles that have stood the test of time in getting a simple message across. Read The Sun. They're beautiful at it in making those headlines as concise and as precise as they possibly could be. And marketing, I think, is this change. Digital stuff, not everything goes across the marketing director's desk now. When I started, every piece of comms went across the marketing director's desk. The processes that you had to go through to get things approved were so much more rigorous. Now, junior execs can flick out an e-shot or a tweet like that. And I've seen bad ones that they don't say anything. And that's, I think, because they haven't been trained properly in the skill of clear communication, and they don't understand what they're selling. So they fill the void with unnecessary extra words. So keep things simple. It's a good adage for your life, for your work, but also, most importantly, for your marketing campaigns that you develop. Put the effort in. Invest time in staying, not just when you start. We all do that when we start. We all go and have those one-to-ones when you start and you meet those different people, but keep doing it day in, day out, week in, week, whatever the frequency is necessary for your people. Stay connected to the business and be responsive to the trading performance. You know, I'm a brand PR, the fluffiest kind of marketeer. That's the way I was brought up. You've got to balance that demand creation, thought leadership stuff with selling some stuff. All right? If you don't sell anything as a business, you go bust. And you have to fire a lot of people because you don't need them to deliver your product or close a factory down. So you've got to get that balance right between demand gen, thought leadership, brand building, and sales support. And keep it simple, because if the salespeople don't understand it, you can have the best campaign in the world, you create all these lovely warm leads, but then the sales guy just do what they've always done, or don't really reinforce the messaging, and it just doesn't work. So keep the balance, get the balance right. Don't be too sales supporty and too tactical, because then it just becomes a price war and a lead, chase the lead volume number. But don't be too ethereal. Just get the balance right. Life's all about balance, so just get the balance right in your marketing campaigns. I've seen the best marketers do that, and I've seen some get it wrong at either end of the spectrum. You know, I started working 2 weeks ago with a sales coach that we brought into our business, and he's a serial entrepreneur, right? And he's come to join BSI, almost the opposite of a serial entrepreneur organization. And the stories he's told and the way he's influenced my thinking, he's done more in the last 2 weeks than has happened in the last 2 years, actually. And it's a very, very simple premise. Make the decisions based on as if it were your own business. Don't see your marketing budget as a target to spend, right? Just so you get another one next year. Spend the money like it's your own on the things that you know, because you measure them, make the biggest impact. If it was your money that you were shelling out, I was flabbergasted when I started. How much to do an advert? Flipping Nora. It's enormous sums of money. Spend it like it's your own, and then you can help the P&L owner hit that profit target, because that's what it's all about. Thank you very much.